Now, I've had an interesting Twitter encounter this morning talking about how I thought that this would be leading to some problems, and I'll explain why. But here we go. Minister Elliott says Ontario will be providing some sort of proof of vaccine card for travel, communal spaces, cinemas, and that opens up the door to vaccine requirements when life gets back to normal. Ontario Poly, and this is reported by Laura Stone, who's a blue checkmark, and she's a politics based at Queen's Park in Toronto. And here is Ontario to issue proof of COVID-19 vaccine, Health Minister says. And this is Christine Elliott, and this was published yesterday, December 8th. Today is December 9th. And Ontario's health minister says residents who get a COVID-19 vaccine will be issued proof that they've received a shot, which may be necessary to avoid some restrictions. Christine Elliott said Tuesday it may be required to access certain settings after the worst of the pandemic passes. That's going to be really important for people to have for travel purposes, perhaps for work purposes, for going to theaters or cinemas or any other places where people will be in closer physical contact, and when we get through the worst of the pandemic, Elliott said. And I think that that's a very interesting situation. The Ford government, says Brian Lilly, is now using the term immunity passport as they talk about restrictions that may be in place for those who do not take a COVID-19 vaccine. Huge potential for charter violations. Read and retweet. Some people have messaged me saying we're in an emergency. The charter is suspended, so it doesn't apply here. They can supersede it. Some people said Section 33. They'll just say use a notwithstanding clause, right? Notwithstanding your rights, we're going to make this health passport part of your life. Here's where the problems start to arise. Here's a good example of it. UK regulators say people with severe allergies should not receive Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. Okay, so people with severe allergies have an adverse vaccine. So does that mean that they don't get their COVID-19 passport? And does that mean that we vilify these people? They should not have freedom. They don't get to go to cinemas. They don't get to go to work. They don't get to do all the things that everybody else gets to do because they can't have this vaccine. And somebody said, no, they'll have the option of taking the Moderna vaccine. And I said, well, at this point, all of the vaccines are experimental. If we don't know, and the clip I showed at the top with the news guy here saying, we'll find out in a few years, after a few years this has been rolled out. That's not going to help if somebody has quite an adverse reaction, right? And it's not going to help if this is just being tested on a human population right now. Like, we've had 3 stages of testing done simultaneously, and then a quick approval in the UK, and the UK, the Pfizer's shielded from liability. So if anything goes wrong, you can't sue Pfizer, right? Maybe you get to sue the government, but I think there's some kind of payment structure that was already agreed upon prior to the rollout, right? Take this vaccine and you've agreed to this payment structure if you get injured. Star, right? Anyway, here's the New Daily, and they're reporting FDA publishes first peer-reviewed report on Pfizer trial as Britain rolls out COVID vaccine. That's a pretty benign headline, don't you think? It's pretty like, you might click on it, you might not. It's kind of run-of-the-mill, day-to-day. Here's the first sentence. 6 people died in Pfizer's late-stage trial of the COVID-19 vaccine. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has revealed just hours after Britain became the first country in the world to roll out the vaccine.
Oh, by the way,
they could have put that in the headline. Sorry, I won't laugh. It's very serious. But the deaths are said to raise no safety issues or questions about the vaccine's effectiveness because all represented events that occurred in the general population at a similar rate, the FDA concluded. What? That's not all.
Oh, God.
4 trial volunteers who got Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine developed Bell's palsy, says the Daily Mail, but FDA denies that the temporary facial paralysis was caused by the shot. John Kretchen had Bell's palsy, right? Half of his face didn't move as well. So 6 people died and 4 people got Bell's palsy. Is this like only those side effects? Oh, no. Nope, this is from December 8th as well. I don't know if this is included in the 6. I don't know if these 2...
I wonder how many people were in the trial.
Report. I don't know. So take this with a grain of salt. This could be part of the 6 and could be details. Either way, FDA announces death of 2 Pfizer vaccine trial participants. One of the deceased was reportedly immunocompromised. Documents released ahead of an emergency approval meeting on Thursday's show. Following only a day after our report that the FDA knows about and is preparing for COVID-19 vaccine adverse outcomes, which include deaths. A newly released document on the FDA website shows that 2 participants died as a result of serious adverse events from the experimental COVID-19 vaccine. In an FDA briefing document released on December 8th, titled Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee meeting December 10th, 2020, link there. Clinical trial results from the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine revealed 2 study participants died from what were classified as serious adverse events. On page 41 of the document, 2 vaccine recipients classified as 55 years of age died, or around 55 years of age died. One experienced a cardiac arrest 62 days after vaccination, and number 2 died 3 days later, and the other died from arterial sclerosis 3 days after vaccination. So, very concerning, very, very concerning, right? And here's the FDA is putting out a list of possible side effects. Here's a tweet that talks about that. This is from, I believe, the same document. There, the link to the document is in the image, so it's sourced. But it says the FDA is now releasing a list of possible side effects for the vaccine. I'll just read a couple of choice ones. Okay, Guillain-Barré syndrome, convulsions and or seizures, stroke, narcolepsy, and cataplasy. Sorry, I forgot that one. Narcolepsy, you'll remember, was given to
Death,
60 people who took
pregnancy,
the
and
H1N1
birth outcomes.
vaccine in the UK in 2009 for the swine flu, right? So that's that happens, I suppose, right? Autoimmune disease, deaths, pregnancy and or birth outcomes, other acute. Oh no, I'm not going to try that one. What else? There's a whole list. Vaccine-enhanced disease.
And there you
I don't know
go.
what that is, but that doesn't sound good, right? That doesn't sound
No,
good.
that's what
That
you
doesn't-
get
that
when
sounds like
your
they know
immune
that things
system
aren't so great,
overreacts
right?
when you
It
get
seems
the
like
wild virus.
Maybe we should
You
be
may as
questioning
well
this a
not
little
have
bit more.
one at
Here's
all. Oh,
CTV
my
News
God.
reporting on the
See,
UK
you're
probing if
immune
allergic reactions
compromised
linked to Pfizer
in
vaccine.
yourself.
British regulators warned Wednesday that people who have a history of serious allergic reactions shouldn't receive the new Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine as they investigate 2 adverse reactions that occurred in the first day of the country's mass vaccination program. Isn't this a human trial? Isn't this human experimentation? Isn't human
On the first
experimentation
day,
explicitly prevented and excluded,
Oh,
not
my
allowed
God.
under the Nuremberg Code? Am I like
On day 2.
the only person who's looking at the Twitter comments? Is this allowed? Why are we allowing this? Why are we passively accepting this, right? How do we fight this? The UK's Medical and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency is looking into whether the reactions were linked to the vaccine. The 2 people affected were staff members with the National Health Service who had a history of allergies, and both are recovering. Authorities have not specified what their reactions were. You'd think if they'd done testing, this would have been apparent, right? If they had done testing that was worthwhile, right? Very, very interesting. Investigations launched after Canadian Forces member called on fellow soldiers to ignore orders to help distribute COVID-19 vaccine. This is again published yesterday. The Canadian Forces is investigating after one of its members spoke at an anti-lockdown rally in Toronto on the weekend and called on military personnel to disobey orders to help in the distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine. The individual dressed in a Canadian Forces uniform was introduced by organizers of the rally as Leslie Kendrisi. Sorry if I got that wrong. The man also wore a military name tag with the same name. So they're kind of doxing him there. Yeah. And here is